that's enough. I think your face is in that. Is it recording?
Now
Oh,
it's
no,
too much
yeah.
of me.
Ugh!
Is this like the start?
Oh, it can be, yeah. It will be.
Depends if you like.
Yeah. Like,
Depends how natural we are.
The thing I find with like starting it, I just love, no matter how it starts, I love to chuck it in there because it can be the best part. Because it's like so random. Very random.
You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. Like before, I was talking about suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I can just stop and just say, hello, this is Thought Anthology episode. Yeah. This is episode 28 at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah, I know. It's very exciting. Today we have Braden and Snortney. I don't know what I should call you. If I should just go with Cord or Snort. It's both.
I mean, I guess I'm fine with either.
Yeah.
Snortney was my old work nickname because it rhymes with Courtney.
Yeah.
But it accidentally became a prophecy because now when I laugh, I snort.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to laugh pretty hard, but it's terrible. So now people are like, oh, you're called Snortney because you snort. I'm like, no, I snort because I was called Snortney.
Yeah, it was a prophecy.
It was a prophecy.
There's no reason for it. It just rhymes.
It's because at the workplace they used to bully each other.
We all bullied each other.
Yeah.
Don't mention the workplace. It's still running.
Okay.
But friendly.
Friendly bully.
Lovingly.
Like how you do with your mates. Like,
Character
yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was Snorts.
Yeah.
Or Snortney or Snortles.
Great.
Yeah.
Snorlax. I don't know. I'm
No,
thinking of
do get
Pokemon
that.
now.
Braden. What did you get anything?
Oh, B-Dog.
Oh, okay.
Oh, B-Dog.
That's
Yeah.
really
I never
standard.
got that. B-Dog.
Your name starts with M.
Yeah, that's
Makes
why you...
sense. I was thinking M-Dog. This is the show where regular people talk about regular topics, like is there good and evil, which is today's topic.
Regular topic.
Regular topic. I think
Regular.
it's pretty regular. I don't know. No, I don't really have this conversation with many other people.
No.
I feel like these conversations are really absent in most day-to-day life.
That's why this is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I agree.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thought anthology.
Anthology.
Yeah.
The
What does
collection.
anthology mean?
An anthology is a collective of stories.
Collective stories.
Yeah, well, it's probably a brief way of explaining it. And if you add the thought in front of it, like every thought is a story, and it's a collection. So every
Collection of
podcast,
thought stories.
so every episode is a part of the anthology, which is Thought Anthology.
I think it's a
Cool.
fantastic.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it too. Like it took me a bit of a minute to think it up, but I thought it'd be a nice name for it.
Yeah.
And it's
Very cool.
kind of unique. And I got my mate Callan, who's in Melbourne at the moment, to do the artwork and stuff. And
Did he? I haven't seen that. He's a great artist.
Yeah, he's like, I want him to do more. I love it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if I had the money, I wish I had an editor. Like, I'd like to pay an editor.
Oh, to edit the video?
Every
I was going to say,
video,
I
right.
can edit a transcript very well, but
Yeah.
not
Can't do video editing, no.
and that.
I could do maybe a little bit.
It was so like,
Oh, true.
confidence down,
Yeah.
confidence.
I have done it.
So if I give you footage, you could like edit it for me. You know, if I pay you,
I could, yeah.
we could discuss this afterwards.
I think
Let's have
that's
a
what's-
conversation later.
Yeah, because
I think that's what's needed.
like I've also got a sister channel, Body Anthology, which I'm slowly trying to grow, which is all
Body anthology.
which is all about like, as you could guess, like physical movement in the body.
Another podcast.
It's not a podcast. It's more or less like a
It's a blog.
vlogging sort of channel.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
I'm on there as well.
yeah.
In the snow.
Oh yeah, in Mount Hotham. I'm
Cool.
still working on it. I'm working on my confidence in it, but I don't have the physical time to edit it this year with how busy my year is. But I also would rather have a professional editor do it. Or
So
somebody,
I don't know about professional.
oh, with somebody who's better than me, which is like who has the time. But yeah, because like this year I want to do more with it and grow up more. Because like I'd love to potentially expand into a realm of where like I can potentially monetize that area where I can just, in the big dream would be to actually just like live my life through the things I enjoy outside of having to commit to work so much. So that'd be the ultimate goal, because it'd be great to be paid just to like travel and like go to random gyms and test it.
The dream.
The dream.
Yeah,
That'd be
screw
fun.
saving lives.
Or like go paragliding or
Yeah.
some shit. I don't save lives. I de-escalate lives. That's what I do.
Well, yeah, if you de-escalate from death, you've
Yeah.
saved a life.
No, avoided EDs.
Such a
It
One
is a
day,
lie.
this podcast will save lives.
Yeah, one day.
Or probably, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not. No. It's just,
Maybe not.
It's a shit talking stream.
Maybe not physical lives, maybe souls.
Yeah, maybe souls.
Good and evil.
Oh fuck! So how should we start this? Should we introduce ourselves like they know Courtney?
Let's go in.
They don't really know. Okay, we'll go around the circle. Tell us about yourself.
Alright, my name is Braden and I currently weed and pick zucchinis.
No, that doesn't. Weed.
Weed the ground, not
Yeah.
marijuana.
No.
Weeds. Anyway, yeah. That's what I do at the moment. Formerly, I have been a church pastor and chaplain, but currently looking for jobs. And yeah, I don't know. What else? What else do you want to know?
Did you grow up here?
What is one interesting thing about yourself? This is really like
One
university.
interesting.
Yeah,
thing.
I was like, did you grow up here? Like,
Yeah.
give us
Oh
more
yeah.
Where you from?
background.
Okay, I'm from Canberra.
Oh,
Yes,
Where I'm
wow.
from originally.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't
Hold
lived
it
there for a
against
long
you.
time, but Melbourne before that here,
Yeah.
and now I'm from. Oh, is this like a secret place? Do they not know where you live?
Oh, it's fine. We at the start we tried to do that, but then we just kept slipping up. So
Okay, we all live in Mildura,
Mildura.
and here are our addresses.
yeah.
I was about to say, like, they probably know where we are, but
Yeah.
not where we are.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
don't.
No, I think
It'd be a
it's
bit hard to find us when we're in the middle of like OEM. So,
Our coordinates are.
anyway, what else? No, anything else you want to add?
I don't know. Yeah. I used to do a podcast. That's
Yeah.
a fun fact.
Are you gonna try to bring that back?
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
It's been a few years. I suppose. Yeah. We can get into it if you want, but I feel like I set this like standard of myself, and I
Yeah.
couldn't live up to it, and
Yeah.
I didn't like.
Oh yeah.
I stopped.
You went
I
too
just
high.
avoided it
Yeah.
because I couldn't reach my own stupid standards.
Maybe
But at
we
the
should-
start, it was just fun.
We should talk about that eventually. That'd be interesting to pick up on.
Yeah.
Not on this episode, but another one.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I've been listening to a lot about like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. This is a future episode.
Yeah, no, it already locked in.
Let's
Easy.
talk about it. Done.
Beauty. As you're saying, sorry.
Oh yeah. No. You used to do the podcast and
Yeah.
set that standard. Couldn't reach it,
Mm.
sort of thing. But at the start, it was just for fun.
Yeah.
So if it can just be fun again, then yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Mm.
Beauty. What about you, my dude? Do you want to know anything about yourself or
I mean, people might not have seen the other episode I was on.
probably not? No.
I'm Courtney.
Zoologist.
I mean, I'm from Queensland originally, but we moved here when I was 2, so I grew up here. My parents were pastors for
Both spaghetti and fettuccine.
30 years. No, Dad was Tortellini and Mum
Yeah.
Mobile. You get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that in the family. I mean, my brother was a youth leader and then chaplain. My sister's been a youth pastor. Well, they've both been youth pastors. And so that's, yeah, I've been submerged in a lot of faith and spirituality and church very early on. But I'm just very interested in theology and philosophy. And yeah, just always been a very curious person. Currently, I'm working at a bookstore because I like to write and I like to have my books on those shelves.
Oh, are you a writer?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I haven't finished my novel, but I finished a couple like kids' picture books. I'm thinking of sort of dabbling in like primary or like high school fiction, sort of the age group. That's when I fell in love with reading. I think it'd be great to, I don't know, I used to have such an imagination, you know,
Yeah.
and now it's like,
It's dying.
gotta revive it.
Okay.
I think that's a fun fact. Is that a fun fact?
Oh, that was
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So, because today's topic is what is good and what is good is good and evil, we should probably start with the question: what is good? Do you want
What
to
is good?
do you want to go first or
I can.
yeah? Do you want to try to define it in your own words?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. How would I define what is good? I think what is good is like maybe it's a bit subjective sometimes, but I would describe it as the ideal. what the ideal looks like for different people could mean different things.
Yeah.
But you could say that living in the ideal way, whatever that looks like, is living in a good way.
Okay.
That's how I'd sort of describe it.
So a subjective set of standards that will lead to an ideal.
Yeah, well, this is where the conversation could be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Where is it subjective or objective, and
Yeah.
what aspects of it might be subjective or
Yeah.
objective?
Which is what I want to pick up afterwards with some of those questions that I have coming down as well from
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe defining them first and working from there would be a good point.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that'd be right?
Yeah.
What do you got, Courtney? Snorty?
I think
Snortles?
most like a huge overwhelming percentage of people would say it's subjective, and that good is I choose for myself in my life what good is, and then good is also a few things that we as a society can agree on. So we've got a couple objective laws. We won't murder, we won't steal. Although if you're desperate, then people sort of, it's like,
Accept
oh,
that.
well, he had no choice.
Yeah.
And even though we know you get punished for it, it's still a law. And we create a couple laws, and they're the objective ones, but everything else outside of that is subjective.
Yeah.
But I would argue that good is objective and measurable,
Okay.
because it is personified in Jesus Christ. That would be
Okay.
my opinion.
That's going to be a long conversation.
Ooh.
What is evil? This should be the next one. Or should I define good?
Yeah, well, hey, you weigh in.
Okay, good. Good.
What did you mean by that?
In the definition. You can't use the word in the definition.
It needs context. I think good needs context. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I always have the questions that come up. Like, good. I think as far as I can assume is that good is realistically only true in the context of perception. So like it depends upon your perceptions on things rather than anything else, because outside of yourself, objectively, I don't think you can actually find good. If you look outside of your own perceptions and outside the context of yourself, where is good and where is the opposite of good? I don't know. So that's why I think...
Interesting. So you can only define what good is inside yourself. Is that sort of what
in
you're
a
saying?
sense, yeah.
In a context. Is that what
In
you
some sort of form of context like that, yeah.
I think I agree with that in a sense, because I heard a quote which I really thought was actually quite accurate. It said, something is considered good if it fulfills its purpose.
Yeah.
So in every context, if there is sort of something that we were in a sense sort of made to do, or it would be right that we did, if there's an expectation, it's good. So this microphone, if it doesn't get our audio correctly, we'd say it's not a good microphone because it had a purpose, a job to do.
Yeah.
Is it an evil microphone?
Yeah.
Well,
But then if you believe that your life is purposeless, it doesn't really matter then. There's no good or evil in it. It's just fucked up.
well, I mean, good is also used often not as meaning opposite to evil.
Yeah.
So it's a game of semantics. It's so
Yeah.
overused.
Sure is.
Like you smile when I said that. He's like, good.
Good is overused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You call that microphone a good microphone,
Yeah.
but yet it sounds ridiculous to call it an evil microphone.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
That means it contains personality, maybe. I don't know. What is evil? What
yeah,
is
well,
evil?
yeah.
Evil. Well,
Yeah.
evil's a much stronger word than good.
Yeah.
It seems.
Or should we go great and evil? Or
What's that?
should we
Pure
just go
and
great?
evil?
I don't know.
Great, pure, maybe.
I've only said good and evil just because of like
Pure.
Friedrich
Yeah,
Nietzsche.
that's what it sounds like.
But,
oh yeah. What
because
is it?
of the
Yeah.
Unpack that. What do you
Yeah.
mean about Friedrich Nietzsche?
As in like
Nietzsche.
his book Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the real.
Have you read it?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I haven't actually. How was it?
I haven't.
Can't remember it.
Okay.
I listened to it. It's like I listened to the audiobook of it. It's essentially summarizing doesn't. I don't think it actually talks about what is good and evil.
Yeah.
I think because it talks about the removal of God and how in the 19th century, or was 19th century, how atheism was growing.
19th it was growing.
Yeah.
God is dead and you've killed him.
Yeah. And
It's the
then
madman.
where is the
That's where that comes
then
from.
where is good and evil once God is gone?
Well,
I think I might be wrong.
This will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I've got something for it later.
Yeah, I don't think I could be totally wrong because I can't remember exactly.
No,
what
that
it's
sounds
about.
like a Nietzsche thing to say.
But we can talk about that topic afterwards if you like that.
No,
thing.
yeah, that's like the only part of Nietzsche I know. That
Yeah.
whole story of the madman, where he's like, God is dead and you've killed him.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's not saying that in a great way either. He's saying
No, yeah, people think that it's like
Salvation.
Nietzsche saying, "Oh yes, God is dead."
Yeah.
That's not what it is. It's a great tragedy because, yeah, because then there's no. Well, I don't know. My understanding of that is, if God is dead, where does morality come from? Where does the standard of morality come from? Maybe
Yeah.
we're jumping hell into here.
Yeah. We'll talk about that
Jump
after.
into it.
Oh, you want to go straight into that?
No. Let's go with what is evil.
Yeah. What is evil?
Yeah, like I said, much stronger word than evil.
Mm.
But evil, when someone says they're evil or that's evil,
Yeah.
it's like a very, I don't know, yeah. It's hard because it's like a very deep emotional thing to say. Like, I'd safely call Hitler evil, right?
Yeah.
But if you just go cold and logically, the things that he's done made him a terrible person. But evil is more than that. Evil's like an emotional reaction that we seem to have as a collective
Towards injustice.
towards terrible injustice. Like, well, actually, yeah, pretty much every injustice. If someone pushes over a disabled person, like, that's an evil thing to do. Like, that's like something
Yeah.
it inside of us, we have this reaction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's tied to injustice.
I
Maybe.
think so.
I don't know.
And then yeah.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, if we as society agree it's more important to think of the needs of the many than the needs of the few, is Hitler evil then to rid the world of what he views as, let's not say an evil, but what about just a sociological issue? You know, you've got this people that have a huge diaspora, and you've got everyone else forming nation states not wanting the Jews part of theirs, and you know, you've got the aftermath of the war. If he's arguing, oh, this is actually better for everyone, how can you say there's, because people are comfortable saying that's objectively evil because they don't like it. Now, I'm not saying I agree with any of this, I'm playing devil's advocate, but is it objectively evil if he's looking out for the good of everybody?
Yeah. No, definitely not. But
we have that
why?
reaction.
But yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
Because there's mass suffering.
And that's where like perception is brought in then.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a perception that we all have as a collective.
Yeah.
It's like a collective mind sort of thing.
Yeah. Or is it? Because from the perspective of somebody like Hitler doing these actions, he probably could realise his actions were tough and rough, but he also, in his own mind, saw them as something that is going to be not the ultimate good for his people.
Yeah, I don't think he thought he was acting with evil intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
He saw himself as Germany's saviour.
He's very deranged, then, if that's what he's doing. Surely you aware.
No, all of Europe was so anti-Semitic before he even gave a speech.
Yeah. Does anybody really want to see themselves as an evil person?
Well, no, I don't know, but maybe he didn't care. He just, maybe he got to a point where he's so like power hungry.
Yeah.
And then, like, I suppose you can have the whole conversation. Is Hitler an intrinsically evil person?
Mm.
It was like, I don't know, maybe this is going off topic a little bit. But, like, was he, like, evil as a baby? You know what I mean? Like, when does he become evil? Like, I suppose people become corrupted over time and turn into some, like, this sort of beast.
Yeah, or maybe similar to the conversation we had in the other day when we were talking about how in that kind of conversation about Karl Marx as an example for communism and it not actually working out.
Simone Weil.
Yeah, Simone Weil, and talking about how you're trying to do a good but you haven't got the experience. Was that the example?
Yeah. So there's this lady, Simone Weil, amazing philosopher, spelt Weil, W-E-I-L, if you want to look her up.
Yeah.
But she had this thing where she was quite critical of like Karl Marx, not so much because of his ideas, but because he was out of touch and he didn't know what it was like to be a factory worker, although he had all these sort of doctrines about the proletarian sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a proletarian. He was an academic.
Mm.
Didn't relate. Didn't connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was that connected?
Oh, because like you're saying, like what point did Hitler become this perceived evil?
Yeah.
Like, maybe Hitler, like he was like in like he was in society and integrating with others and having this perception of like what needs to be done. But as soon as he moved up the ranks and started removing himself more and more from others, the perceived what is good for the people becomes so deranged because he's so out of touch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah. Same like how Karl Marx thought he was doing the right thing, but he was so out of touch from what reality is.
Wow, that sounds like every communist leader I can think of. Stalin, Mao.
Yeah.
Mao is a great example of being out of touch.
Because Mao wanted the greater good for his people, but like, since he was just...
He didn't know Jack.
just so separated from others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he tried to implement farming policies, knowing jack about farming. He believed this idea that if you plant your seeds really far down in the soil, they'll have to really struggle to get to the surface.
Yeah.
And then, he sort of, there's genetics tied into this, which these two fields don't work at all in this sense, but he thought that seed will be a very strong plant because it had to struggle, and it will pass that on. When that plant flowers and drops seeds, they will be better seeds than the last seeds.
He just had that opinion.
He read, I forget the name, there was a scientist who was, had a sort of genetic theory, and it was malapplied to agriculture.
Yeah.
And Mao was like, brilliant, implemented it in China, people starved.
Really?
He acts it like,
Yeah,
I say
so
accidentally, that's my belief on it. It doesn't seem like he really knew how many people were dying because they had grain quotas and there was so much pressure that people would misreport what they had because they knew if they said, my community didn't make enough grain, their head would be on the chopping block. So they would lie. And so there's all these false figures going up to the top.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, look how much we're making, and it's not that much. And so people are dying at the bottom, but it's not being passed up because no one wants to be responsible. So he killed tens of thousands of people in China. I find him interesting.
So no problem saying that is evil. Even though we can talk about the, like, is it subjectively, like, there's something within me that just goes, yep, I'm happy to say evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe it's that someone had that much power.
Yeah. No, like when I think of those sort of
he
people...
had good intentions.
Or misuse that power.
Yeah. Whenever I hear people like that, I think of like misguided.
Yeah.
There's more than evil.
Yeah, misguided is not strong enough to describe them,
Because I don't think these people, like, it depends on my definition of evil. Like these people aren't trying to be evil. Like Mao,
what they've done is evil.
Like, is a result of evil to others. But like for that individual to themselves, and probably like if you had a conversation with them, they're probably not inherently evil. Their actions end up being perceived as
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are. My perspective is, I think all people, are basically good.
Yeah.
Like, on a surface level. But I think people become corrupted.
Yeah.
And do corrupt things, and like people change, and you can become this sort of like terrible person, like deranged person. I think that happens. Like, I don't think people want to necessarily turn out or want to be evil.
Yeah.
But I think some people sort of like become evil, and they know that they're doing something that's wrong, or they are being someone who is evil. I think people know that. Some people.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're necessarily inherently bad. I always think that you can find a bit of good in everyone. I think that.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the most common thing that sort of flips that switch from this surface level good to evil actions? Maybe not at the extremes we've been talking about, but in a general sense, harmful in their circles or community.
It's like when someone makes a choice to do something that they know is harmful to others.
Or just like when someone, you're saying sort of people are generally good, but then they can become evil or deranged. What are some of the main causes, do you think?
I don't know. There's so many different causes. But I don't know, an example I'm thinking of is like a kid who shoots up a school. In like America, it seems to happen a bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think they've like, I don't know. There's a whole sort of different things that have just made them angry and upset at the whole system, and they don't see hope, and do something horrific.
So I would say that, you know, the things that happen to people that make them do things like that is usually done by other people. You know, when you talk about sort of general or circumstantial things, you know, like dying in a horrific car crash or something, it can usually be traced back to someone doing something wrong to cause that. And so, you know, the saying like, hurt people.
Yeah.
Like, if it's sort of a chain of someone who's evil screws up someone else's life. My mind keeps going back to the Joker film.
Oh, I was literally about to bring that up.
It's such a good case study of.
It's a great example.
Yeah.
Conversation. It's
But
like the villain origin story.
yeah, you know, that sort of that villain origin story. But you know, in my head, if people are inherently good, then how do so many become bad? They would have had to been wronged so much, and if there's that much evil in the world, how are people inherently good? Like, does that circle make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe like people inherently good at the beginning. Like when you're born, you're like, there's probably no aspect of you that is thinking good or evil. You're thinking well, there is simple context of what like as a baby, what is good, bad, like Fanta good, I'm alive today, milk good, I'm alive today.
Well, I think babies are inherently good
because like in the sense of like judgment, because like they haven't developed the
they
they're
can't
not developed
choose yet.
They're not developed. So inherently, if you're just that sort of base person, which is a baby, you're definitely just an inherently. Well, I guess you're inherently neutral.
Well, yeah, let's say that.
Yeah.
But if in general the good outweighs the bad in a human,
Yeah.
and it just takes some serious bad to make us evil,
Yeah.
wouldn't over time we be more good than evil rather than being more evil than good?
Are we more evil than good?
I think so.
Do you reckon?
Look at the world.
I think we're more good
The
than
acts of
evil.
kindness are so largely motivated out of
Do
self-centeredness.
you reckon?
Yeah.
You scroll all of any platform, any deed of good you see is because someone is recording themselves
Yeah.
giving $1 million to a homeless person.
Yeah.
All of our acts of good, I would say like 90% are virtue signaling self-righteousness.
So then why is that bad?
Because it's done out of a sense of, hey, everyone, look at me and see me as this. It's not actually, I want the welfare of that person. You might say, why does intention matter? Because that pride is a sort of a puffed up sense of yourself. I'm better than Matt because look at me go give money to a homeless person.
Yeah, I've done it. Like I agree with you, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
of like a devil's.
I think the opposite. I think there's more good in the world than evil.
Yeah.
And we tend to look at the extremes, generally speaking. Like we're looking at the like narcissistic arsehole on social media. But like, I think most people, everyday people, like people you meet in town or whatever, are like good people. Like they're wanting the best. I think people have selfish motivations a lot of the time, but I don't necessarily think that's good because I think it's like co-beneficial. Do you know what I mean? Like if me and a person are hanging out because we're both lonely, in a sense we're both sort of using each other. Like it's like selfish. It's sort of selfish.
Yeah.
But it's mutually beneficial. It's not it's not wrong to be selfish.
Yeah. There's those layers there. There's good for you, then there's good for the group. Or good for the partner.
There's something I think religion has done in my life has just taught me that selfishness is always bad. I don't think that's necessarily always the case.
Yeah. Because if you're so self-sacrificing, you're going to actually jeopardize yourself, so you can't give to others.
Yes, that's right.
And that's like the Dostoevsky book. Like if you become as close as you can to like Jesus Christ in like normal life, you're going to end up failing because you're sacrificing yourself so much that you're not going to be able to actually come to the point where you can help anyone anymore because you've sacrificed everything about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an accurate representation of his day-to-day
Is it?
life.
Yeah.
He frequently withdrew from people to have alone time and downtime.
But
Is
this
this
is in the book though. Like
Which book is this?
The Idiot.
The Idiot. I haven't
Yeah.
read. I've heard of Dostoevsky though.
Yeah.
I have some points for that.
Yeah. So this guy was like he was in his perception. This character was trying to be as good as he could, and that doesn't necessarily mean he had the right interpretation of whatever Jesus.
Well, yeah, it's just always this picture of a doormat that's gone.
Yeah, but
That's
he was
fair, yeah.
trying to be good as he can for others, but by doing so, you're jeopardizing yourself.
Yeah.
That makes you an idiot.
Maybe religion has falsely equated selfishness with anything that considers yourself, because
Yeah.
it's important to not be alone. One of the first things God said about Adam was it's not good for man to be alone. He needs company.
Yeah.
So if you're considering your needs, I don't think that's selfish, but it's a very hard line to draw.
No, it is selfish though.
Well, I need to eat dinner. I don't. That's
pretty
We
selfish.
have, to, we have to define selfish.
It's pretty selfish.
Yeah.
Like, you
At
have
what
to-
point does it go from
If
healthy to selfish?
Yeah.
if we're going down the religious path, sort of,
Yeah.
the reason I see everyone as good is I think everyone is made in the image of God. Now, even if you don't believe in God, what that means is made in the image of perfection, the image of goodness. I think that's like an important way for us to see ourselves. I don't think it's good for us to see ourselves as dirty sinners, or like, I suppose what has annoyed me lately is some amazing grace that saved a wretch like me. I don't think it's good for us to view ourselves as wretches. I do think people have sinned. Sin, I suppose that we need to define what that is for people as well, but you could describe sin as like missing the mark or evil or whatever. Like they're sort of different ways of understanding it, but I think that someone is made in the image of God, good, and people become sort of corrupted. That's sort of the way I see the good and evil within. Like I think that we are good, like, and obviously like what that means, we don't really have a solid picture of what good is because like it's a bit subjective, but yeah, I think we're basically good and people become corrupted and make decisions that aren't ideal and that hurt other people, sometimes deliberately.
I would still argue back, how could a world full of people who are more good than evil corrupt people?
Well, probably because it's all subjective.
What
Yeah.
do you mean?
As in, like, people who are inherently good depends upon like,
If I'm in a world of people who are inherently good,
yeah,
how, like,
inherently good in the like depends.
You're-
Are you saying
just did a math-
Are you saying inherently good to the perception of themselves, or inherently good in the perception of it as a group? Are you
I'm saying it in the way I think Braden means it, which is deep down they want good
yeah,
and in general act this out, but now and then do maybe
yeah.
simple
But
things.
what is
I think it's complicated as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a mixture going on in everybody.
Yeah.
Like I see it in myself. I, like, generally speaking, want to
Yeah.
do the right thing, but sometimes I do things that hurt other people.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I just do it. Like that's the bad side of me. That's in
Yeah.
a bit of yin and yang, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think it's complex. But
Yeah.
I think it's best for me to view myself as good
yeah,
with a layer of sin or evil or badness
yeah,
on top,
yeah,
or fighting for control,
Mm.
or I don't know.
yeah. Or maybe because there's no universal good,
As in,
as in like, to, like, I'm trying to find a conclusion to your question. Like, the reason, like, everyone is inherently good, but it's not. That depends upon which layer you're looking at. You're looking at from the individual standpoint. If so, their perception of what is good is going to be different to the one next to them. So every action they impose upon you that they perceive as good may be a negative to you, and so then it results in this whirlwind of chaos and corruption from another perception.
so is it really good if the standard that they've decided hurts someone without them meaning it?
From them,
Is
probably.
that-
From
Yeah,
them, but then you're.
so we would have to say most people aren't actually good, most people think they're good.
No, but that's also come from the standpoint that there is a universal good.
Yeah, this is what you sort of hinted at the start.
Yeah.
Well, it has
Yeah.
to come back to that.
Yeah.
Is
All of
there a universal good?
Yeah. So, like, or is the universal good so, or it's this is where it's the semantic game. I don't know how to define. I'm trying to figure out words now.
Well, yeah, no. Like, I think this is a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
Is
Or
there
is it an
such a
evil
thing?
Sorry, I had
Or
to.
It's an
or is it evil?
I had
This is,
to.
this is an evil conversation.
Probably just
We
some
must
very deeply like
No,
religious person probably is to some. They're probably
maybe, yeah. Maybe
Well,
no.
we'll see
I-
if we try to chuck it up and it gets put down for hate speech.
Yeah, or if
Yeah.
one of us storms
Then
out.
we'll know.
No, I don't think.
Well, that's a
will
fun
happen.
one. We should talk about hate speeches, right? As well. Like, well,
Oh
who's
my
defining
goodness.
hate? Anyhow,
Someone I
that's
follow on YouTube was like, oh yeah,
That
one
is-
of my
that is good.
videos just got removed from YouTube for apparently being hateful.
Yeah.
And it was just a philosophical discussion like this. And
Yeah.
it's like,
So,
Anyway, as you're saying.
I reckon you said at the start, right? And correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but like morality has to come from ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
To some extent, yeah.
I think.
Because I don't live in, I can't prove or disprove God, so I don't lead off that assumption.
But what
because-
else-
We can put God
Could-
aside even for a moment.
Yeah.
But I think there must be something bigger than myself to appeal to, because I'm flawed. And if I'm making the decisions, and who's to say that we will all agree on what is morality? You might think,
no, we don't.
yeah, and that's right. You might think that, well, this constitutes as hate speech, and I might not. And is that like? I think there must be something that we appeal to. What that something is, we can have a conversation about. But I think there must be something, and like maybe that could be history. Maybe like we could look in history, or we could look at different perspectives. Maybe democracy is the way to figure out what is moral. But I think there must be some form of morality.
Yeah.
Well,
outside
without
of
the
myself.
morality, societies don't tend towards democracy. So it's sort of a catch-22 in all the societies that were founded upon, a religious basis of we're seeking something higher to create our constitution. Easily take Australia and the US. We've got democracy, voting, and yeah, it's not a perfect system and there's corruption and flaws, but it's a much better system than other places where you've got dictatorship, because when there's nothing to when there's nothing higher than you, well then someone has to
Well, they
make
get
the
to
call.
decide what is moral. like the Soviet Union, the party, they're
Yeah.
the ones who decide what is good and bad.
Mm.
And that's sort of my concern in a society that doesn't have God, like Nietzsche. Nietzsche.
However you want to pronounce it, we understand. Yeah, it's,
A society without God, I feel like maybe the government steps in and fulfills that role of deciding what is good.
yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, history tells us that.
Well, I'd say what this is one of the questions. Does good and evil only is only real in the context of society? Because then, like, the only like from those sort of that sort of information, we've removed God, and what is morally right and wrong is then agreed upon by the group and then projected in society through like some sort of governmental system or something like that.
That's sort of where we are. We're in a secular world right now.
Mm.
Like, as in public discussion, God is gone. He's long gone.
Yeah.
But so now,
Mm.
I feel like this is the way it sort of works in maybe Australia, America, Western democratic countries.
Mm.
The masses decide what is right and wrong.
Mm.
And that is good because you get a broad
That's
sort of
democracy, sort of.
democracy, but it can become a witch hunt.
I could.
It can, and I think that's happening.
It
Yeah.
is.
And I think that's also getting worse because of how connected we all are.
Yeah.
Because we've got all like millions, like we've got the internet, we're all connected now.
Yeah.
We've got millions of perspectives and millions of like,
Millions of people to hate millions of things.
yeah, like that's why like things like hate speech come up. Because
Yeah.
like to somebody from China, like, because their language is quite direct, to somebody in the West that is hateful. Or like, and
We have different cultural values.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hateful to not
yeah.
agree.
And so, like now, and that's probably why like it's getting more complicated now as well, is because we've got all those people perceiving these things, and they all have their own societal, like, well, they're all societal context of what is right and wrong being pushed because of somebody
Yeah.
else's
I mean,
societal context of what is right and wrong.
before the internet, you only had these sorts of chats with people you knew.
Yeah,
Only ever.
in an echo chamber.
You know, even going far back, the women would, you know, be cooking or washing and talking, and men would be working.
Yeah.
Or and talking, or you know, you'd be at the bar
Yeah.
and you never had these chats with strangers.
Well, yeah,
and
that's sort
we're
of,
doing that now.
yeah.
And when you know someone, there's that empathy that's like the oil in the conversation.
And that's great, I think.
Well, yeah, because you can actually say, you can risk offending them knowing that a friend will assume the best of you and not storm out, try and get you off of the platform, you know. So Twitter is just a hellhole.
Yeah,
my opinion.
and that's the other thing now as well. I don't think it's technically a democracy that decides what is moral. I think it's loud voices on Twitter. Like, I think it's people who are popular and famous, and like, who's to say they know? In fact, many of them are probably worse informed than us.
Yeah, people of influence.
Yeah, influencers.
So, like, do
They
you
influence morality.
do you think that's because I'm gonna go like from like some sort of like evolutionary standpoint? Let's say like we're at this point where we're in this small group of tribes, whereas like most of the time it's dictated by who is the one providing the most with the strongest, or the most imposing person will end up being the one dictating what happens.
Unless you have a religion, because then with a religion, and I think this is probably a healthy thing in those tribes, because then you can appeal to God,
Yeah.
which is really good functionally.
Yeah. But like I'm just saying for the example, is that probably why the influencers are more likely to dictate opinion, is because our evolution and like our processes are more likely to be drawn to somebody of authority to dictate what to think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we are.
I don't think people want to be drawn to them.
I don't think they do
that
either necessarily.
People have, like you said with the strongest, sorry to cut in,
Yeah.
people have so much power that they are just able to. You know, how we're sort of comparing this cancel culture to the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it is a big witch hunt, and whoever has the most sway can determine. And people might not
Yeah.
I don't think people want to sway to them,
Yeah.
but I think we live in such a time of, you know, I call you an anything phobe, and you don't want to be labelled as that because that sounds like you're hateful. So all you have to do is name call, and you can shut down an opponent.
Yeah.
And so it's more fear that makes people
Yeah.
bend to that
Yeah.
rather than
Interesting.
willing.
But where is that driven from?
From not wanting to be ostracized.
And where does that drive from as well? Before
That community sense of that I'm part of the tribe.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
goes back to forever.
Yeah.
No one wants to be
So
ostracized.
so you could then say that it's inherently like these things have been ingrained into us to actually
I think so.
be responsive and have an emotive response to, because years ago our ancestors would have died starving or something like
Well, yeah, we're pack animals. We do better with each other than on our
Yeah.
own because we have different skill sets.
that. Yeah.
And so, you know, to survive, you got to be with people, but not just physically,
Yeah.
emotionally. That
Yeah.
sense of belonging that we all need.
Mm.
You know, it's been shown in so many recent studies that small children deprived of affection, simple physical touch, love, their neurons aren't connecting at that early age. They are underweight, and it literally kills them
Mm.
if there's too much emotional deprivation.
Yeah.
Babies don't develop.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
even as a grown person, to some extent, we need a sense of belonging.
Mm.
And so if someone is going to say, hey, you're a hateful person for this opinion,
Yeah.
you don't want that if everyone in the community is scared of the person who said
Yeah.
that and is going to say, Matt is hateful, we don't want him in.
Yeah.
That fear will make you go, oh, no.
Yeah. Or
I
like
don't have a different opinion.
yeah, or like how powerful, like saying somebody who's been accused of something like murder, sexual assault, or being a pedophile, and they never actually were,
Yes, these days, yes, your reputation
is you forever for the rest of your life, and it's scary because like there's no question then, it's just that is this person.
He
who's
was
been-
once accused of sexual misconduct.
yeah,
All it has to get is thrown out there, and
yeah, and that's
it's
it.
damage is already done.
And there's no nuance, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because we're also not very forgiving as a society.
yeah,
You said something once 10 years ago, you can lose your job for it.
yeah,
There's no such thing of, oh, I've actually changed my mind or actually regret that. I've grown as a person.
Mm.
Again, there's no nuance.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it's possible for a outside source of morality to truly exist? And if you didn't have God, would it be possible to truly exist?
Would it be possible for us to exist without God?
No, sorry. Would it be possible for us to have a sense of morality without God? A bigger sense of morality?
Like as in like a one universal truth.
Yeah, one...
Objective.
No, yeah.
Some
Or objective
objective.
morality.
To
Let's say
create
objective morality.
outside of
And
God.
not a list of rules, but an objective sort of, like maybe principle of love. Like
Values-
try to have, values.
Values get hard when you put them into practice because you always get those tricky situations of, well, we agree that lying is bad, but
Yeah.
we all know of situations where lying can
Yeah,
save
well that's
someone's
right.
life.
So they're sort of grey areas.
Yeah.
So I think they will have to exist. But do you reckon that like we can like pull out some universal values that we can apply to all of humanity, that we all might inherently have, or that we can appeal to outside? And there will always be problems in like actually implementing. That's the word I'm looking for. There will always be problems.
Yeah.
But can we have those values outside? I don't know.
I have strong thoughts on it. What do you think, Matt?
I'm just trying to think of an example, because like once you remove something like a god outside of ourselves, like that's the last question, because is good and evil exists outside of ourselves.
There you go. Braden knew where you were going with it.
Yeah, because that's
I
like,
didn't. I actually bought. Yeah.
Yeah, well, 'cause I think that's naturally where it goes when you try to pick apart the layers as well.
Well, you keep getting back to that.
Yeah, so there's so if you remove God, is there an ultimate moral outside of ourselves? If there's nothing to perceive moral, then there is no moral. Like, because if the universe is just this blind existing object, then it has no moral concept. It's just acting.
Well, yes, everything's instinctual and
Yeah.
justified.
Yeah. So like everything's just in that sort of sense, is just an action of like occurrences. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. The only point at which they mean something is once we start thinking about them and having some sort of emotive response towards them, and that only happens once those occurrences result in us. So, like, oh fuck, hold on. Now, and before I was just trying to think about how morals can exist within that sort of like framework, because it does. It somehow exists. Morals, like this discussion exists somehow because of that. So like, I think
Not necessarily.
Well,
Like I said,
then
our
why are we having
society-
this conversation then?
Because our society and its principles, which allow what we're doing right now, was founded on a belief in a higher power. Go to a society where it was founded not on a belief of higher power, and you don't have free speech.
I disagree. I disagree with
Name
that.
a country.
I'm not going to name I'm going to name, going back to tribes, they would have free discussion between those individuals and not have a god to believe in.
Yeah, because they didn't have a society. We're talking about
That is a society though, wouldn't you say? Like
A tribe. Well, what is a society? We're talking
Yeah.
about
What is
something.
society?
Society to me is not just a group of people. It's a group of people who operate within systems and structures.
Yeah,
They have to be implemented by something.
yeah,
Government.
yeah,
Every government that was not founded upon belief in
yeah.
a good higher power does
Yeah.
not have free speech.
I disagree.
In England, you can go to jail for hate speech.
Yeah, I disagree. 'Cause-
That's true.
yeah, I disagree.
Okay.
no, I agree with that's like a law, but like I think I think that you could say it to some simple form, like those are larger examples of what.
I'd like to hope you're right, but it
Yeah.
hasn't happened, is my point.
Yeah.
And it's been many a year.
I just think we need action. I'll tell you what, we'll do some research into evidence to back up our arguments. I think because I feel like that you could argue that those structures are actually a projection of what actually basic society, like basic tribal society, was. As in, like they say, like governance, like. People had these particular skills and talents that resulted in, like, you know, somebody who's a good hut builder, somebody they were assigned those tasks and job delegated by somebody who was assigned a leader.
No, if you're going back in time, no matter what skills you had, you built your own hut and you farmed your own food.
We should go live with the Hadza to prove this, because I kind of disagree.
The Huns.
The Hadza, like the African tribes who like don't have any contact with many outside.
They don't have someone whose occupation is the hut builder for everyone.
Don't they have some sort of... I feel like most of these tribes have spirituality or something.
They do,
Oh,
yeah.
most do, but it's not in the context of like a one true God.
Monotheistic religion.
Yeah, it's not,
it's still a...
Oh, a lot
It's
of
still a...
like
polytheistic.
polytheistic, that's the word.
not all, like there are some, like the indigenous people have like the great creator, like the Aboriginals and stuff. But
Well, it doesn't have to be monotheistic to be something that you can reference to for a standard of good, because in polytheistic religions there is still that standard of good. It's just that different gods enact different parts of it.
I was going to use the example of chimpanzees, but like I can't talk chimpanzee because they could have a chimpanzee god. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
Do you know what a kind of good example for this is? North Korea.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Yeonmi Park before? She's...
yeah, the one that escaped North Korea.
Yeah, she escaped, yeah. But she talks a bit about how when she lived there,
Yeah.
she didn't have these values.
Yeah.
She was sort of she was told by the leader
Yeah.
was truth.
Yeah.
And so she came into China initially, but then America.
Freak out, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and she didn't have some of those common human values that we all say we have.
Yeah. But that wasn't
She was
because of a god, that
indoctrinated.
was because of a person imposing power.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So like Kim Jong Un becomes God.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily. So you mean like it's not necessarily God, it's somebody who is of influence.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah, so
that's the God.
maybe, yeah, like I'm kind of, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, continue as you're saying. Sorry. I do see where you're coming from though.
No, I'm almost saying, like I'm not really trying to say anything or make an argument.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is an interesting example for this conversation because like sometimes we think these common human values that we might have may not be as common as we think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them aren't. I would have agreed with you before I went and lived in Europe, but it sounds terrible, like to say, but I sort of came back with a sense of, you know, I've seen more of the world, and this sort of general standard of common human decency is just different in every single culture. So it's not like people are good here and evil
Yeah, I
there.
agree with that.
But I have this standard of, you know, it's actually decent to do these 5 general things, you know.
Yeah.
But you go there and maybe only 3 of them are. Maybe 1. Depends where you are. And so it's so subjective to the point of, I feel like there's very evil aspects of the culture. They come here and like, how could you as a society do this, behave like this? So culture factors into it a lot as well. And
True.
what offends you.
How dare you not eat my spaghetti?
Yeah, that's right. That might be super offensive in another culture.
Yeah, super offensive.
Yeah, well,
And others, if you have to leave some on the plate, because then they're like,
when I was
That's
in,
right.
yeah.
when I was in Kenya, we visited a family who, were quite poor, and you know, the culture there is very, very generous, especially when you have visitors. And so they gave us a chicken.
Yeah.
Now, a live chicken, keep in mind, in total they had less than 10 chickens, and I think maybe they had 1 cow. Essentially what they gave us was nearly a year's wages.
Sorry, as you were saying.
Nearly a year's wages. And we were like, oh, we absolutely cannot accept this. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot give us a whole chicken. That's like someone coming and you saying, I'm going to chop my house in half, take off. You know, it's ridiculous. But we were told by our local guide that it would be very rude to refuse it. It would be saying to them, your gift isn't good enough. And we were like, no, what we're saying is it's too good.
Yeah.
But that would have been very evil to them. That would hurt them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? But we were like, it to me, it's evil to take that from you,
Maybe
considering
it's
what I
more
have and what you have.
Yeah.
I've got a
boy.
fun thought experiment for us.
Here, go for it. Is it the people on the train track or?
No,
Anyway, just saying.
no, it's
good old train
it's
track.
called Euthyphro's dilemma.
Okay.
I don't think I've heard it.
It's so Socrates.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sounds great.
Well, Plato actually, and he's talking about Socrates and a conversation between Socrates and Euthyphro.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have this conversation, and Socrates asks, I've got to read it because I've got to get it right. So you've got to listen closely. Is the good loved by the gods because it is good, or is it good because it is loved by the gods? So is something good because it's loved by the gods, or is it good and is something good?
Is someone good because they are loved by the gods, or is someone loved by the gods because they're good?
Something. Or like
Something.
another example
So-
for a religious context might be, is what God does always good because God does it? Or is something good because it is good, God does it?
Oh yes, I've heard that phrasing of it.
Yeah, that's the like sort of religion context of it, but originally it was talking about the Greek gods.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, is good only good because it's done by a divine creator, or is good only good because it's deemed because somebody loves the action, or like the divine creator loves that action?
Yeah. Well, like
Yeah.
God does something because it is good.
Yeah.
Or the
Well,
gods,
does God
the
do
gods
it and it's good
love
'cause he did
something.
it?
And therefore it is good.
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, both could be true. Yeah.
Both could be not true too.
Yeah, both could be not true as well.
I was about to say, I
Not-
mean,
I don't know any gods.
it'd be different to everyone.
Yeah.
But I would say both. Something is good because God did it, but that it's chicken egg. If God is inherently good,
He
Then-
wouldn't do something that isn't.
then he can't do something evil. So what he has done is good because it's come from a source of good, so I would say it's both, but it depends on your perception of God and good.
So, in theology and philosophy, the idea that God does something, and just because he does it, it's good.
Yeah.
That's like known as the divine command theory.
Yeah.
That God does something, and because he does it by definition, it's good.
Yeah.
So God orders Israel to kill a whole tribe.
Yeah.
That is good because God said it's because
Yeah.
God said so.
Yeah. And then is there a hole in that? Because we still have that concept of evil. Because then even what we deem as evil is good in perception of God. Like,
Well, I mean,
my brain's imploding on that.
It's a hectic
if
question.
God cannot commit evil, then the theory is still correct.
Yeah.
But if God is neutral and then he does something and we call it good because
Yeah.
he did it, then our perception of good is based off of this shadowy neutral figure who could be good or bad.
So God is just doing, and we define whether or not it's good or bad. Then there's the
Yeah.
result of that.
It still comes back to who is this source who is doing.
Yeah. So it's just
You've just said he does something. You haven't given me motivation.
maybe there's no motivation, just us thinkers.
So,
I don't know. I don't know, man.
oh, it's a tough one. I
Yeah.
love it though.
Yeah.
But maybe like an example could be eternal hell. Like
yeah.
God, like that's the argument that many people have made to me about an eternal hell.
Yeah.
That God is sovereign, and because he is good inherently, he's able to burn someone for eternity because he's good, and I shouldn't question that. And what I'm trying to get at is there a greater sense of morality that you can appeal to, or is there a greater sense of morality that God has to work within even?
So God works within a morality that is outside of himself.
Is that, yeah.
Well, I think the question's easier to stomach when you characterize hell differently. I don't think that that's a fair, in my interpretation of hell in the Bible, I don't think that's a fair characterization that God burns people in hell. You know, you've got there's different schools of thought on what exactly hell is, whether if God is all good, hell is simply the absence of God, and so in the absence of goodness you have pure evil. But a lot of the verse is sort of talking about this burning, this acid, this sulfur that you do see in scripture, refers to this sort of darkness, or Sheol is one of the words.
Sheol's in Old Testament heaps.
Yeah.
The nothing place.
Yeah. Whereas if you, I've also, and I haven't made up my mind on where I stand by this, but I know at least that if someone chooses to reject God and then is left to bear the weight of their sins. I mean, if you believe people are inherently good, then it seems very unfair. I don't believe people are inherently good, so then it is what we would deserve, would be my, well, not just my argument. I think that can be reasonably found in the Bible. But yeah, I think it's a mischaracterization of hell, which makes it sound very unfair, as though he's there with a hot prod like, ha ha, look what you did, rather than the one's knowing result of one's choices. And I think that, I don't know, the burning, it's, again, there's a lot of argument that it's metaphorical, or, I mean, we don't have physical bodies, so how can we actually be burning?
Yeah, how can you experience pain then? Yeah, okay. I suppose, yeah, what I'm sort of getting at is, well, you've got stories in the Bible like when Jacob wrestles with God, like Abraham and God having a conversation about who he could save. It's almost as though God wants us to push back and have a dialogue, have it like, push back a bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
So does God always make the most moral, good decision. I suppose he's God, so he does. But is it because of he is inherently moral, or is it because it's something outside of himself? And I tend to think there is something else, like, and whether God created that or not, I don't know. But I do think there is like a set of like untouched sort of principles. I wouldn't say laws, because I feel like in the Bible we have laws, and then Jesus sort of points to the principles of the law. It's not a list of do's and don'ts, but I do think that there is some sort of greater principles, and that we sort of do have. And look, we could make arguments like I just did before, that like Yeonmi Park couldn't have that, might not have had those same sort of values. But I think collectively together, I think there is something that we can point to, and we can say what is good and what is wrong. And it's hard because it's very often grey, and I think it's often subjective on. But I do think there is something. I do think there's some. I think there has to be, otherwise we're stuffed. If there's nothing else for us to appeal to, then we just will do what we want.
Well, don't we kind of already do what we want?
To an extent.
Yeah, but I don't.
Well, we're confined by like our own like mortality and like those limitations and stuff like that. You know, like.
So you're not talking about like in a hedonistic sense. You're like talking more about like
Day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do what we want in the confined rules of our existence. Like, I can't just jump on a plane and go fly to Tokyo. I don't have the resources for that. I don't have the finances for that.
I think you could.
You could rob a bank.
I could rob a bank. Yes, exactly.
You could sell enough things here to get a flight to Tokyo.
Yeah.
You absolutely could.
I could do that.
You could sell these couches, this TV, your laptop.
Yeah.
That's
it's
true.
possible.
But then, like, why would I do? Like, then that's.
I'm just saying you could.
I could, but why should I then now? Like, if I get rid of everything, what does it leave me for my next day-to-day life?
Well, I guess you never gave me the motivation of going to Tokyo. You just said you couldn't, so I was like, I think you could.
Well, if you want to use that example, yes.
Depends why you're going.
Yeah, depends why. So it's very nuanced. It's very fucked. It's very confuffling. Let's get really. I don't know. Hold on. Let me just try to think more. Yeah, we kind of do what we want, confined within the rules of our environment. Then, because that example still follows that logic. Then, because I could still then go to Tokyo.
Yeah, you could do what you want.
But let's say, I was trying to give an example, like extreme example.
Right.
Like I can't just all of a sudden.
You could run for Prime Minister. Let's go with that.
I could run for Prime Minister. It doesn't mean I'll be successful.
I don't know if you could even run. I think there are some.
Yeah, no legs.
I think sometimes we do something that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, and when, like, I don't know, someone's on the side of the road really struggling with their car or whatever.
Yeah.
You could drive past, but something inside might say, "Oh, I should have stopped," or maybe you do stop, not because you wanted to, but because you sort of did.
No.
And I suppose if you did, then you kind of did want to. Like,
actually, yeah, I'm just thinking about that. I'm actually wrong in some sense as well, because like there are some things that I want to do but I won't do.
That's right. Yeah.
But like those things that are stopping me are mainly because of the social conditioning I have. Like I'm not going to go and punch somebody in the face because there's consequences.
It's got to be more than that, though. Do you reckon?
I don't know. Well,
then
you'd have to say what's driving that factor.
I think there's a bit of both.
Yeah.
You know that would mean succumbing to maybe an evil instinct.
Yeah, but then
but you also don't want to face the consequences.
But that depends upon like the standpoint I usually come from with these sort of things is that I remove everything, take away everything, and then start from there. So there's no God, there's no nothing, and then you follow the steps backwards, because then what's driving good and evil doesn't exist yet. We're not there yet. So I'm doing this action, I feel bad. Why do I feel bad? It could be this, and what drives those actions? It could be this, and then that drives the conclusion. But what if we go so far back there is no conclusion?
Yeah, but is there more than empirical evidence? Is there?
There probably is,
and that's what I'm saying.
But yeah,
and when you just said that, I just don't know.
Yeah.
what if there is something else
Yeah.
that we just don't know about?
Well, how can we ever know then outside
Well,
of,
yeah, I'm not saying we can. I'm not making that claim.
Imagine
Yeah.
if this
I
ended
don't. I
in
just
aliens.
think that there is.
Yeah.
And look, I'm fully aware that that's a statement of faith.
Yeah.
Like that I can't 100% prove it, but my
Yeah.
lived experience tends to say to me
Yeah.
that there is something.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong,
Yeah.
and I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
And I'm open to being wrong even. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it's bad to live your life with those sort of
Oh, definitely not. No.
yeah.
Yeah, because that brings a lot of purpose to people. This can be good for people.
I think the fact that we seek
If I'm following what you're
purpose
saying.
testifies to something greater. If there was only what is physical on this earth, we wouldn't be such philosophical beings. It just wouldn't come about. And
No.
I think we've had this
But I
chat before.
well, if like, but that's
If
the
we've just evolved, then this need for purpose is ridiculous. Where did it come from?
oh yeah, that's where the question comes, because it's quite ridiculous that you like, as far as
That
you
I need some big purpose. I need to feel loved and belonging. No, I need to survive. That's what the instinct that's been built in
Yeah.
me since day one. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have any of the other stuff if there's no God out there saying, "Oh, I created you for a purpose."
I think I agree but disagree, because that's like, if you do come from like the standpoint of everything's empirical, then you ask those because you can't ask questions about the empirical world without asking things that may or may not exist. Because like you have to have those questions in order to derive some sort of truth. Because like to find out whether or not that I can't really think straight now. I do apologise. That
It's okay.
that table is made of wood and it would burn. And the only way for me to find out it's going to burn is to burn it and ask that question. It's like, or if I know something prior, like water freezes, what about if I try to freeze another liquid? Will that freeze? I don't know, I have to ask. And then it comes to the stuff like what, the more questions you ask about your experiences, how far does that go?
Well, these are all. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, that goes back to you can't be sure of anything because you're always going to have your senses.
Yeah, and that's
You have to believe that if you freeze juice, for example,
yeah.
you have to believe that what you see with your eyes and touch with your hands
Yeah.
and smell is accurate.
Yeah.
I love where this is going.
And then with that, you prove empirically that those senses are wrong. That they can be wrong. Because like most of
We
your
should end this
perceptions,
by pulling out the plug.
yeah.
The
and then
Matrix.
that's the thing. You can't,
So-
I think this. You can't know anything.
Yeah, well, which is like the result of like every philosophical conversation is that like you ultimately don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're all
Yeah.
nihilists.
Yeah. Well, it's not nice.
I don't think it has to end in nihilism.
I think it is going there.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Like you can find like that's where the Nietzsche
Well,
question comes from.
no, I think-
That's the good and evil question.
Nihilism would be a logical end to this discussion because it's an unpleasant way to go where you're cutting it short. But if what we're saying were to be true, logically it would have to lead to nihilism.
I don't
But that's
know why.
not fun.
Does it have to? It
I-
could
It
end
has
to.
to.
It can end in faith. I think. It could.
In what?
But it can. What I'm saying is that I think this is what I tend to think. I think everyone has faith on some level, and some of that faith
absolutely.
is well founded. Some of it's not well founded, but it needs to be well founded. I think.
agree.
But like I think everyone has faith on some level, even if it's just that what we see, hear, and touch is accurate.
Yeah.
So I don't think it ends in like, oh fuck, I don't know what's going on. Like I don't know anything. I think it goes there. It goes to complete agnosticism basically, but it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Does
like
it?
well, no, it doesn't. But I think
It can.
it must for me.
Okay.
Because it's not a good place to be.
That was exactly my point. It's illogical to not go there, but it's such an unpleasant place to be that we have to go towards hope.
Yeah,
I think we
100%. I
yeah.
agree with that. Like you're right, it actually is a logical place, but it's not necessarily the peak.
No,
It's not necessarily the end point.
we don't arrive
you
there
can
and go,
keep going.
ah.
Yeah,
We
let's
go,
just leave
this
in.
this is makes me uneasy, and so we veer towards hope because of that survival instinct.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's not
nihilism
like-
kills you essentially.
It's not about burying your head in the sand either. Like, I think it's...
I think even following logical steps doesn't reach nihilism.
How so?
Because like if you're following logic and you're coming to like that point there, then the logic is like there's options there.
What are the options?
So like because that's what
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to sort of
yeah,
say.
because that's what an agnostic is. An agnostic is a person. There is the potential for there to be a God. There's not enough evidence to make me go this way. But there's also evidence to suggest there may not be a God at all, and that like there's not enough evidence to suggest me to go this way. So the logic is like follows both ways, but they're inconclusive because you can't follow through with them both because they're both potentials.
Well, there's a discrepancy between the two phrases. You've said we can't know anything, and you're saying we can't be sure of everything, and they're not actually exactly the same. That equals nihilism if we cannot know anything.
Yeah.
But if we can't be sure of
Can't
some
be certain
things,
of anything.
if we can't be certain.
No. Okay. I meant it in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I meant it in...
Misuse of words.
But...
Semantics.
well, yeah, I suppose... Yeah, the question for me then would be with... If you have faith, does that mean you know?
I mean, to you it does. Subjectively, your life is played out as a knowing.
If you know something... Can you subjectively know something? I don't know. Because, yeah, I don't know. The way I was using the word is you can't know for certain. But I do value... I really do value faith and practicing your knowing, I suppose. That, like, faith is like... The way I sort of describe faith is like a verb. Like, you living your life as though something is true, which I think effectively everyone sort of has to do. Like...
Because it's trust.
Yeah, like, I think if you go down the fully logical route of questioning everything, like you said, there's sort of choices.
Yeah.
And I think you must make choices. And maybe not on the big questions about God,
Yeah.
but on the day-to-day things.
To eat breakfast.
Like, yeah, do I eat breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What if I don't? Maybe there's benefits not to. Maybe I do intermittent fast. Like, you could just have that whole conversation.
Yeah.
Getting in your car. Who's to say the wheels don't fall off?
Yeah.
Like, evidence is pretty strong that they won't because they haven't before.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you don't know.
Yeah.
Who's to say the law of gravity continues as it has for as long as we know? Like, why does it, if the world is like chaos and unknown, why do we not just start floating? There has to be...
Sorry.
I think
I just didn't expect where it was going. Why don't we just... I thought, it'd be a funny edit if it sort of, before it blacked out, we all just hover up and then...
That's where your editing skills has to
I don't
come
think
in.
I've got that level of the outsource to
Our
someone else.
chairs just...
Just float up.
No, my point sort of is everyone must make choices, and that's not bad. You just got to do your best, take in the information that you have, and try your best to make the best possible choices.
I would say
But what is the best choice?
Oh,
Well,
far
yeah.
out!
Back to the start. Us, we got somewhere. Wait, no, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
What's it? The best choice for me or the best choice for you?
Just,
Yeah.
Because my
just
choices.
like, I don't know. Like when I said Hitler was evil before,
Yeah.
that was a choice for me to say
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and that's a choice I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And look, I could say that I'm wrong, but I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I'll like there are other things that I can question.
Probably matters to the Jews.
What, it matters that I do call him evil?
No, I said it probably matters to the Jews. You were like, it doesn't matter, and I was like, some people would say
they're all
that,
dead by now.
but
It's
your
been like-
stance on Hitler matters.
No, it certainly does.
I'm just being-
I think it really does matter. My stance on that.
Oh, okay.
Do.
You just said the opposite.
But I think you said
I wasn't meaning that. I was meaning.
for day-to-day life.
I don't know why I said that. I don't know what I said.
Okay.
No, I think that we all have choices, like, and they matter. They certainly do matter because they have real life consequences.
Or was every choice we've ever made pre-planned and we're just following the program thinking it's our own will?
Just NPCs in the Matrix. this whole podcast was planned.
No, I don't think that.
It's not even in the Matrix. There's this school of thought within Christianity. This sort of predestined. You know what is a good movie? Predestination.
Do you know with that sort of thinking, like when you're talking about that neurologist, like if you think you're bad at math, you'll be bad at math.
Well,
Jared
self-fulfilling
Cooney.
Yep,
prophecy.
snortles.
Snortles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
You haven't made me laugh hard enough to snort, but it'll happen. Matt's witnessed it.
oh god, now that's a fun topic.
What's that? Predestination.
Yeah, maybe we'll just
Let's
blobs.
not.
No, another episode.
Yeah.
Or just blobs of potential. And we just drive us.
Free
So-
will.
Yeah. Or what?
No.
That's a fun one too. That's a real fun
No,
one.
I've got no time for
How
that.
long
Fair
is it?
enough.
No, I
Well,
do, but not
good.
right now.
But ultimately, all these questions don't matter because we're still gonna wake up tomorrow and go to work. Because we're still gonna do the same things that drive ourselves to be alive. You can ask these questions all day. You're still gonna eat something tomorrow, drink something tomorrow.
But will I go to work?
But will you go to work? That's up to
This
you.
could be
really.
the start of my
You can choose.
villain
Yeah.
story.
But unless you're suicidal and decide to kill yourself tonight, you're going to be doing something that's going to be some sort of decision
Irritating.
you've made.
I hope not. If anyone out there is thinking of that,
Oh, do not commit suicide. I'm just saying in the
We
extremes,
need-
yeah.
call
We-
Lifeline.
Lifeline, yeah. I should probably
1
put them in there.
3.
13 something.
Yeah.
We've got the first two numbers for you. You have to
We'll
go
edit
over
it in.
Yeah, so it's
It'll
been,
appear right now.
so it's been an hour and 21 minutes. Do you think that's long enough
Yeah,
for you
that's
guys?
great.
So, like, from the result...
Edit just the good bits in. It'll
Yeah.
just be Bradley talking.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brayden talking.
Right.
Just
So we've come to a perfect resolution.
that there's
And
no
we
such
all-
thing as yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah. I think it ends in goodness.
Yeah.
I think it, like, the whole conversation, like, it can, like, these sort of conversations where you like, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know about it, like,
Yeah.
that's healthy and good. A lot of people get frustrated with these sort of conversations, but I think they're, like, so good.
Yeah.
They're very helpful.
And you might not come to any sort of resolve,
Yeah.
and that's okay, but you
Yeah.
can make choices.
Oh, yes, exactly. We should. We tell you what we should do a book review. We should read the book of Sisyphus and come back and have a chat about that.
Book of
Oh,
Syphilis.
book review.
Book of Syphilis, yeah. Huh?
Syphilis or Sisyphus?
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
Oh, you talk about
Sorry,
the
I
book of
was
Syphilis.
I was joking.
Yeah.
I was joking
No,
about
that
it.
second time
So-
you literally said syphilis.
Syphilis
Yeah, I
killed
think
off the American. No, actually killed off the Europeans because I think Columbus had
Sisyphus.
sex with some Native
Oh,
Americans and got syphilis.
Actual syphilis.
Yeah, legit syphilis. But
Wait.
anyway,
Did Sisyphus die of syphilis?
no, he died of. Well, he was no. He's condemned to live forever.
Oh, that's
But
Oh,
he's-
yeah.
But his punishment is to push up the boulder. He'll be killed and come back down again and push back up again.
Eternity pushing the boulder up the hill.
Yeah.
sounds like Groundhog Day.
It's
Poor
an,
guy.
it's an analogy of life where we just put all this effort into creating something for it to ultimately fall down when we
Well,
die.
speaking of book reviews, then we should read Ecclesiastes because
Oh, I love Ecclesiastes.
it sounds like Sisyphus ripped off Ecclesiastes.
Well, maybe it's
Even
Sisyphus-
if you're
I
not
think
a
Sisyphus
Christian,
would-
if you
wait,
don't believe in God at all, Ecclesiastes is still.
When did Ecclesiastes like?
It's an
like-
Old Testament book that's very much like, you know, because you've got all that wisdom literature in the Bible that's like,
Yeah.
do good, there's purpose to everything,
Yeah.
be a good Christian. And then you get this one book, Ecclesiastes, that's like, we're all gonna bloody die. It's
Yeah.
a great book in the
Like,
Bible.
there's a whole chunk
Yeah.
of it that goes, life is meaningless.
Yeah, that's probably
Meaningless.
That's probably
Meaningless.
derived from
Everything
Sisyphus
is
because that's like a lot of like things in the
I don't know, I
Bible
might
that derive from like old stories. Like Noah's Ark is probably derived from the Babylonians and stuff like that.
Mm.
The flood
Noah's
story.
Ark
Is it?
precedes the Babylonians.
Does it precedes?
The
No,
Babylonian Empire.
does it? I don't know. I just hear these things, but I reckon the book is. I reckon
There's
Sisyphus
similar
precedes
myths in
Sisyphus.
different cultures.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't even want to get in this argument. I need to get my numbers right.
Yeah, that'd be another podcast.
So there'll be another podcast. She's a history
There's
buff.
always another.
History buff. Well, that we could have some conversations.
Mm.
We could
And
have
she's-
we could have a whole biblical studies.
Yeah. Well, you guys,
conversation.
that'd be fun
That
because
would bore
I don't.
the crap out of you, mate.
I don't know anything. I know a few things, but I don't know as much as like you guys would, because like that's not something. Because that's
Yeah.
a whole other discussion. Like I will never believe in any text that I
Oh
read.
no, that's I love these conversations, and I never want to have these conversations with the need to try to convert anybody
Yeah.
or anything like. I just want like
Yeah.
I think I genuinely believe the Bible has something for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not everybody, but I think it's an very important book
Yeah.
for all of us.
But it doesn't have something for everybody.
Doesn't.
Well, I'm just saying you said it has something for everybody, not everybody, but it's important for all of us. Which one do you mean, sorry?
Oh, I reckon there is something for everybody.
Okay. Like, flat out, no exception to that rule.
Maybe there is an exception to that rule. I don't know. I wasn't super precise with that statement.
No, that's why I'm clarifying.
Maybe we should leave the episode here and pick up on this conversation once we've ended it. This has been Thought and Dology, episode 28, Good and Evil. Result, complicated.